Now, how loud is that? My heater fan. You can hear it? I hope it's not too annoying. We'll try to replay it right here and see if this is actually picking it up. Alright, here we go again. Whoops, sucks, not even plugged in, is it? Or is it? What we got going on here? Little red light there. It's working. It's a green light, let's go. What a morning. A little foggy and damp, all the maple leaves are golden. Just starting to get that bug to go deer hunting, it's time. But anyway, poor Sarah, I woke her up. She got up real early with me this morning. I wanted to take her to that steelhead hole where all those fish are. And I figured the only way you're going to catch one of those steelhead is at very, very first seeing light and sneak up to the edge of the pool because it's almost still water and not really moving that fast. They can basically count the loops and you're not on your hook. That's how clear the water is. So they're very difficult fish to catch normally. But this is about the worst circumstances to try to hook one. But I thought it'd be really cool and a real cool backdrop to have the river in the background with all the golden maple leaves behind her and finally get that wicked awesome memory photo of Sarah with a steelhead. Because last time she got that great big one last spring, I gave it to her to hold on to and she dropped it. In about 2 seconds, never got the photo with those big waterfalls behind. So we went and it didn't work out. They were onto us right away. I had her sitting there. Actually, the game warden came up to us in his truck. He was heading up to go see how the elk hunters were doing in the dark and saw us walking down the road in the dark. And he stopped. He's like, wow, early start for you, huh? And I'm like, yeah, so for you, man. Had a little BS session with him. He knew me from the video I handed to them with the elk poachers we caught and I videotaped a couple years ago. Anyway, poor Sarah's sick. She thought she was getting sick last couple days, and sure enough, she didn't quite realize it until we got moving down by the river, and she's really sick. That sucks. So just came back, didn't catch fish, lit the fire in the house, and I sat there while she sat on the couch with the fire going in the house and going through my inbox emails. It almost knocks you out. You know what I mean? Once that fire gets going and you're all snuzzled in, the dog's right here on my feet. And I woke up, last 3 nights in a row, I woke up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and 5 in the morning. I don't know why. It's driving me bonkers. So I'm a little relaxed for sure right now. Now, let's get into it though. I may have found a bunch of emails that have been patiently waiting to be heard. Actually, I know I did. It's not hard to do. And I've got my heater fan on. Hopefully it's not too loud. I don't think this is picking up the heater fan motor. It's chilly. It's finally fire season. Burning wood stove season. This is titled My Family and I Heard It, and I Saw It. Hello, Steve. My name is Justin, and I'm writing you from West Central Illinois. My wife, daughter, and I used to spend countless hours playing in a creek near our home in White City, Illinois. This is a mostly rural/wooded area between St. Louis, Missouri, and Springfield, Illinois. I've been to St. Louis. I feel like I flew in there to go turkey hunting. This is not somewhere I would have expected to experience what we have, but here are our encounters in my own words. The first few encounters occurred in the late spring and summer. We would ride our side-by-side down the road and park it near a bridge over a waterway called Cahokia Creek. Cahokia Creek. This area was very private, and we could spend the afternoon wading through the creek, trying to find arrowheads, old glass bottles, etc. After long periods of rain, the layout of the creek would change, so there was always something new every time we went. That's pretty cool. That's interesting. After long periods of rain, oh, sorry, I just read that. Our typical day we would bring a bucket to pick up trash. My wife and I would sit on the sandy banks while my daughter would splash around and goof in the water. On multiple occasions, we would hear what we thought to be a cougar. The sound was odd to us, but never really considered that it would be one of the forest people. The only way I can describe it is that it sounded like a sad Wookiee. Exactly like the recording in your video, quote, sounds recorded nightly, Now, listen to this, end quote. It was every 15 seconds or so for a short period of time. And like I said, we took it for a cougar or something, which even then aren't that common there, but possible. I'm always carrying, so we weren't very concerned, just aware. And this happened 2 or 3 times. I drive over that bridge daily to and from work. I believe the year to be 2019, and I was working 7 days a week because we were experiencing flooding at work from the Mississippi River. One afternoon at around 4 p.m., I was crossing the bridge and working my way up the road. The creek is at the bottom of a half-wooded, half-farm field area. And as I'm coming out of the bottom, up ahead there are trees on both sides of the road. The trees formed a canopy on both sides. The sun was shining through the very lush foliage, so my visibility was very clear. I saw on the left side of the road something run out from the trees on all fours. It was solid black, covered in short to medium long hair, and about the size of a black bear. It happened so fast, so I only have a short photographic video memory of it in my head. Excuse me. It ran up from the left and across the road to my right side. On the right side, there is an embankment that would require some strength to grip to ascend easily. While running on all fours, this thing stood up on the hind legs and climbed that embankment with ease. It happened so fast, and it was very disorienting. I was home a few minutes later and called my neighbor, who had lived in the area for almost 50 years. I asked him if he ever had heard of bears being in the area, and he mentioned they had released some pretty far south of the U.S. South of us, to help control the cougar population. What? They said that they mentioned they've released black bears to help control the cougar population. But he assured me there were no bears around and that I'm crazy. I have discounted my experience for several years. Oh my God, was that person ever feeding you a lion? Oh, bullshit. I've been watching your channel for almost 2 years now, and I'm absolutely sure what I saw was not a black bear and certainly not a cougar. I agree. The speed and agility of this thing, along with the sounds that my family and I heard, are no longer mistakable for anything else. I'm thankful that our experiences weren't as traumatic as others, and for those people, I wish you all the best in dealing with the negative effects that such encounters can have. We no longer live in that area and are 100% rural now, only hearing coyotes all night and the occasional fox in the tree line across the field behind our house. I've attached some aerial photos of the area. The location of the encounters will always be in the center of the photographs. The Google Maps Street View's exact location and view that I would have seen from my vehicle when the being crossed the road and ran up the embankment. Thank you for your time, Steve, and thank you for helping me fall asleep for the last couple of years. You're a true inspiration to us all with what you're doing. Keep fighting for truth and freedom and be safe. Love you, man. Love you too, man. And you keep fighting for truth and freedom as well. I'm sure you are. Appreciate your time you just spent. I won't show the aerial view. Nobody needs to see that, but I'll show the street view. All right. Here's the street view where you're seeing that thing. You know what'll happen when we show the street view. I'm sure it'll send out a group of maybe possible not so pleasant people. Stormtrooping the zone, maybe. Appreciate that email, man. Sorry it may have taken so long for me to read it. If you've had anything else happen on your rural property, you know what to do. Get a hold of us. Let us know the truth, word for word, no matter how crazy you might think it is. This is titled Connecting the Dots, bracket, long end bracket. This ain't that long. I'm the only person in my state with my name, so you can call me Eric. I grew up in my dad's frame pack, hunting before I could walk or talk. I had an incident completely change my life in summer 2020. It connected previous experiences I had until then, simply shrugged it off. Despite being raised right, and I did not believe in anything outside of established science. Driving with my wife after picking up some groceries in the town over, she said, "What is that?" pointing to something less than 100 yards above our tiny town. I was driving, and so just glanced at it, and I told her, "It looks like some trash blowing in the wind." She then yelled at me, "No, look at it." I slowed a bit to safely look, and reality changed for me. A black, fractal-like object was statically frozen in place in the sky. It was falling in and out of itself, while a smaller, similar object orbited it. I parked the car. It took immense willpower to take a few photos. Somehow it made itself appear much further away and blurred. I was compelled to just stare, and it felt like I was being watched, like catching a cougar while stalking you. I'll share my pictures at the end. I drove home as we were about a minute away, and it was still just there in the sky. I ran in to grab my 6.5 by 284 Norma. Yes, it's that small of a town. And the moment I pointed my scope at it, it simply vanished. Turns out I knew nothing, and neither did all those textbooks. Let me read that again. It turns out I knew nothing, and neither did all those textbooks. I became a believer in many things that I would have chided others for before that day. A year before that, I got a super rare hunting tag. Only 10 people draw each year, and half of them can't manage the intensity of the terrain. This place is watched 24/7 by the rangers. I was allowed to bring only one person and no vehicles. We were required to bag our feces even. It's a watershed. I just skipped food until after the hunt each day. One day my brother was hiking with me, and we were deep in, and he pointed at some snow and said, "Hey, check out the Bigfoot print." Indeed, it looked like what I'd imagined it to look like, but I doubted everything that wasn't in a textbook and chalked it up to snow melting weird. Now I think differently. 2 years before I was hiking on a trail I used to use dozens of times a year with my Doberman. I usually went in 2 hours, then hiked out. My dog was my usual companion and was used to snakes, deer, and other wild animals. I always packed 2 pistols of different caliber, .357 and a 5.7 by 28, 2 tools for 2 different jobs. About 3/4 of the way in, nearing a bridge by a small waterfall, my dog froze, her hair raised. I went to put her leash on, and when I got close, my hair raised. I never felt this before, not like this. Not even the time I was looking for a bear in a thicket I'd hit, and less than 5 yards from me it started to get up. I emptied my .357 that day. Deep inside I felt something. It was not a voice, but I felt leave. I drew my .357 with hand-loaded bear stopper rounds and said aloud, "Okay," but did not turn my back until I was much further away. I still haven't returned to that trail. Again, disbelief protected my ignorance. My dog's chewing a bone on the floor if you guys have heard any sounds, by the way. When I was 15, one of my best friends disappeared, but they found his car parked at the head of the trail I just mentioned. Over 15 years went by with no sign of what happened to him. After my experience I just went through, police found his bones deep up the trail. He apparently had been dismembered all those years ago. What the hell? I'm new to the channel and have been binging episodes. It's great to see others share. I've only ever spoken to my wife about this stuff, and only because she was there for one of them. Thank you for providing a space, free ridicule, for these things to be discussed. I'm not sure we will ever know what we're dealing with, but I sure hope so. I know you're not able to share images usually on the stream, but take a look for yourself. Be sure to zoom in. As again, it messed with my camera somehow. Oh man, I don't know. These Google Doc things never ever seem to work for me. It worked! Okay, what do we got? There's the original photo that just cracked open. So it looks like a power line. What am I doing here? It looks like a power line with a dot in the background, right? So we'll zoom in on that. And that's a little odd. Nothing getting focused on. A little odd. Yeah. Come on, zoom back out. Be patient with me, you guys. Hold on a minute here. Usually when I click on Google Docs that people send me, it says I gotta sign in or have some kind of permission or something. I never seem to get it, but that's another one zoomed right up. Folding in on itself and something hovering around it. Very odd. Very odd. Yep. If I was to just look at this without being told anything in the backstory, I'd be like, oh, it's probably a spider web with a spider in the middle of it hanging off that power line. And there we go. Shared. Odd. Very odd. And it is definitely changing form. Whatever that thing was, it's changing form a lot, right? I guess the big question now, who else has seen something like this in the description in this email to us? There you go. Appreciate your honesty, man. Appreciate your time. Big time. Okay, what do we got here? Another one. Titled, Some Info for You and the Family. Right on. We're all about that. Steve, some info for you and the family. Norman, here again. I have a tip for your listeners that write in. Write it on WordPad first. It will show you typos, then copy and paste the email. All right, there you go. I've been watching your videos and Dave's since November 22. I have seen lights like you videos everywhere I've lived. Love the truth coming out, though some are very scary. After watching you and writing in, you read it on Christmas Eve, I can tell you they seem to follow me wherever I live. A couple years ago, my girls were in bed and awoken by a growl. I thought it was just a dog outside, and the girls screamed, saying there's a big black-looking face looking at them in the window. I went outside with a gun, but I see nothing. Mind you, I had 11 beagles right past their window. Maybe, did I read that right? I went outside with a gun, but see nothing. Mind you, I had 11 beagles right past their window. Then the next night they screamed at about 3 a.m. that there was a big black-looking man in the utility room that I had to go through to get to their room, but nothing there. I was taking it as to have been a ghost, as this town was once part of the Underground Railroad back in the day, and I've seen lots of spirits all around town. I've seen lots of spirits since 1997 when my brother Mike passed away in a car wreck. Sorry to hear that. I write poetry, and as they come to me and wake me in the middle of the night, I don't know how the wife puts up with me, LOL. I never know when or where they are coming. I was asleep one night when a poem came to me, and a big white figure was standing in the bedroom doorway. The top of its head was touching the 8-foot ceiling. I said, "Can I help you?" It blinked. The wife asked, "Who are you talking to?" And it turned into a white ball. It went into a picture on the wall. That picture I drew in school of a grizzly bear using a 1-inch by 1-inch cutout of an old magazine. The picture is 16 by 20 inches. That was 17 years ago. We were newlyweds. That has happened several times since. Now, about another time I was woken by a poem. My sister in Michigan had recently lost her husband, and there was a red ball shaped like a football blinking in my bedroom, floating above my TV at the foot of my bed, like someone was there telling me what to write, and here it is. All right, here we go. Message from heaven. If I could hold you one last time, then I'd hold you until the end of time. If I could kiss you like never before, our kiss would last beyond heaven's shore. If you could only begin to understand, then our hearts would be locked hand in hand. If we were together right now by chance, we would be doing our lover's dance. If you only knew this love that I feel, then heaven would send me to your arms so real. If I could come back to you one more time, then I promise you everything would be fine. If we could go for one last ride, I would ride with you, and with pride. If I could just hold you one last time, because throughout eternity, you are mine. If you feel this love I have for you, then it'll grow as heaven's gate we pass through. Yes, I could hold you one last time, then all through eternity our love would shine. Written for Early Wiggins. Written September 25th, 2022 by Norman Hale. After writing it, I said, "Got it," and the light disappeared. No shit. No idea if it was a spirit or after watching you. Wondering if it was something else. Read it on video if you'd like. Like you, I've never backed down. Though I was in lots of fights in school from being picked on, some bullies never learn, lol. Went to school with a kid that swore he had been abducted by aliens, and he drew a big picture of the inside of a spaceship. Could tell you everything about it. Guess what? He even drew a Bigfoot in that picture inside the craft. That was back in the 70s, early 80s. I'm trying to get up with him since finding your channel, lol. Hope this helps someone. I need one more poem to have 100 for book 18. Now seem to have writer's block, lol. Blessing to you and yours and the How to Hunt family, Norman. Norman, it's quite the poem, and hopefully nobody says, that's an old one, everybody knows that one. I hope that doesn't come out of the audience, right? That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Appreciate that share, man. Absolutely appreciate it. That was a pretty good poem. Bailey, Colorado. Steve, I thought I would share this story with you back in 1992. My wife, God rest her soul, went to Bailey, Colorado to do a little fishing. The Platte River runs through the town, and it was a very easy spot to catch trout. We decided to walk down the river for a couple hundred yards and had to push through a lot of brush and small trees. After about 15 minutes of walking, we started to smell a really bad stench, like a dead carcass rotting. My wife was complaining about the smell when we both heard a low growling. The growling was only about 10 yards away from us, and I told my wife it was probably a mountain lion, and we just needed to keep moving. So, we kept moving, and in a few yards, we got out into a clearing with the river running through it. There was a bend in the river, and it made a small sandy area along the river. I noticed a few footprints in the sand and told my wife that only an idiot would walk around with no shoes on. My wife said it had to be a basketball player because of the size of the footprint and how far apart they were. We did some fishing and then went back down to the opposite side of the river and didn't have any problems at all. It's taken me about 15 years to figure out just what was happening on that river. I'm pretty sure we're just a few yards from a Bigfoot and didn't know it. Thanks for your sight. I can't tell anyone what happened there without being laughed at. Take care, Scooter Barnes. Feel free to use my name. There you go. You found the safe place to share that, didn't you? And keep sharing more. I gotta go. I just got a text that somebody's here. I gotta go. I gotta go. Be right back in about 10 minutes. Damn. All right, I'm back. That was my saint of a neighbor. That old fart dropping off a rake to do the final raking on my property before I get seeded for grass. Crazy. What a kind human being. Now, back to that previous email I just read. The growling right beside you. Cougars don't do that. Not too many natural predators that we're aware of do that at all. They just leave, stay silent, unless you are walking in on their kill. And even then, it's only a grizzly bear that'll give you grief, not much else. You know what it was. You know what it was. Speak of the devil. What's this one? Emailed in, black bear or grizzly. That's it. It's email with a photo. Okay, I'll share it. What the hell? Zoom in on this thing. That is what I call, or would be called, a grizzly colored black bear. He looks pretty nasty. He looks like he's been in some burdock prickle bushes for sure. He's got his fur all matted up. There you go. Grizzly colored black bear is what that is. Now, I was going back in my inbox to see how many were missed and how many I could recognize as unread. And back when my knife was returned to me, I must have received 500 emails from all of you with similar stories. So I haven't obviously gone and dove into all of those. But I grabbed one here. Let's read it. Your knife story. Steve, I remember well your episode about shooting the bear with the tipless arrow up a nearby tree and finding the headless arrow later stuck into the snow in the middle of a logging road, clearly placed for you to find. Did I get that right? Did you get it right? Shooting the bear with the tips up. No, the bear I shot up the tree was in my yard in my underwear, and he peed on me. Probably the only person alive to be peed on by a live bear, right? But anyway, that was a blunt arrow from an older bow, and I would shoot the bears in the butt off my porch to make them think a Tyrannosaurus was there and never come back again. And then I got the new bow, and when I went to shoot that bear on the logging road in the butt, the tipless arrow stuck in his ass, and he took off with it. But you got it pretty close. Anyway, your update about finding the long-lost life inside your backpack adds a lot of Sabe context. I can certainly add to that. First, a thought experiment. Let's suppose you lost your article of clothing, a Swiss Army knife, anything really, somewhere near your home in BC. Now imagine this lost object showed up on your doorstep magically, some days or weeks after it was first lost. Now imagine this happened before you were forced to admit the existence of Sabe. Let's pick an imaginary date, say 2005. If the object showed up on your doorstep, you'd almost certainly credit the kindness of a neighbor. You'd ask neighbors, as you saw them in turn, "Hey, did you return my Swiss Army knife?" You'd question other families along your road, but the magical return would have remained a mystery. The same has happened to me and my family members many times. In fact, more times than I can even count. My discovery of Sasquatch was slow, but came to full cognizance approximately 8 years ago. However, I had lost stuff returned to me in exactly the same manner as your knife for the past 30 years. And sudden Sabe awareness suddenly put all of these prior incidents into context. Our place in the Adirondacks is jointly populated by many family members. We're very isolated but live close to each other. So, when something is returned to our doorstep, we also have to ask, who did this? The most bizarre incident was when I had a small day pack with 2 bottles of liquid refreshment returned after I mislaid it in a swamp. Relaxing later and recognizing I'd likely never see it again due to my forgetfulness, I felt it suddenly beside me in a different section of woods. This predated Sabe awareness for me. So at the time, I credited the ominous substance I was consuming. LOL. Oh, sorry. I credited an ominous substance I was consuming. LOL. Now I know Sabe followed me and placed the pack beside me. Another example which has replayed countless times. My son is also very absent-minded, like father, like son. And when he'd go out in the evening to carouse with cousins, he'd invariably take and then lose either a flashlight, sweater, or some other object of clothing. Year after year, the same thing would happen. Often he'd forget these items in the living room of a cousin, and just as often as he'd misplace these items in the woods and after searching the following morning, would deem them as lost, despite disciplining reprimands from my wife. Yet more times than not, the flashlight or sweater or whatever would be put on our doorstep. Mystery. And always, almost always, this return would follow a large verbal discussion between my wife and son about why we needed to get this shit together and not lose items of value every single time he went out. After the item was returned, it seemed to me at least like some being had overheard our kitchen table discussion, and then perhaps went out and found the lost item, out of sympathy for my son. They're not called watchers for nothing. Now that I've had several direct Sasquatch experiences, and know they exist, these prior moments of human kindness all now make sense. I don't think the Sabe put the knife in your backpack in any way to injure you. Remember, he's not scared of a knife with a 5-inch blade. Rather, by putting inside something very personal, he was showing you he had witnessed the long session in which you searched that same pack for that piece of electronics, card reader, by putting something in the pack that belonged to you. He was saying, hey there, in case you're wondering, I know you forget shit, so here it is. And I put it in your pack because I know that it will rust if left outside. Conclusions. A. They overhear and understand our conversations. B. They have phenomenal tracking abilities, i.e. it seems they can go out and find almost anything using their sense of scent and eyesight. C. They know us, our stuff, our possessions, and in a rudimentary way, how they work. And D. They use their wit to make commentary upon these incidents. Putting your knife in the pack, he wanted you to make sure you knew what you had. And that, like the Sabe, human beings also have short-term memory issues. Best regards, Mark Potter. You can use my name, Long Lake, New York. Mark, appreciate you, man. Very interesting. Very interesting. I wonder how many times or how many of your relatives have seen these people where you live. And who knows? I don't know what's going on with the backpack thing, and no, it never made me angry at all. It's just that my mind doesn't automatically, with everything that confuses me in life, my brain doesn't automatically say, well, it was Bigfoot. Right? Obviously. But I did ask to be left alone this last trip up north with Sarah, and we were 100% left alone. I believe all I did find one time was a pile of sticks in the middle of nowhere in the dense forest that were not done by any wildlife, that's for sure. I don't think anything else happened. Except for here in a back 40 when Sarah and I went down the river and all those sticks were in line in front of her and for only a second and then gone, which I didn't witness. And she also heard the footsteps paralleling us down the river, and I didn't hear shit. There you go. Now, it's our Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, long weekend. I think our Thanksgiving's tomorrow, and poor Sarah's sick. I was canceling our neighbors coming over for turkey with us, unfortunately. All right, what's this titled? Quick Insight. Hey, Steve. If the Sabe people use mind speak, what that really mean is they are able to manipulate the electrical signals in our brains. If they can do this, that would explain why Sarah heard the footsteps and you did not. What are the chances of reading that after I just shared that? It would also explain why many people say they smell something horrific, but it's not exactly the same for everyone. They send the signal for us to smell something terrible. Not a specific smell, just something terrible, and our brain makes up the difference. That also means that they could make us think we heard something that wasn't actually audible, i.e. footsteps that only one person in a group is able to hear. If you think much further down these lines, You will end up in a rabbit hole that leads to, quote, the simulation theory, end quote. That's my 2 cents worth. Dan Robertson, modern day philosopher. Modern day philosopher. Dan, appreciate that, and you never know. But I think we get safe to say at this stage of the game that these people can, without a doubt, single out 1 or 2 or more, or just one person, and allow them to see or hear them. Without a doubt, they do that. And you can put that little puzzle piece together only because of all of the honest eyewitnesses that have come in and shared those facts with us. And it's also for me to say that with confidence is because I've experienced it with more than a few people myself. My friend has a degree in psychology, heard that tree getting the shit beat out of it. Way far away and loud, like he said, it sounded like a sledgehammer hitting a tree, and it was coming from where I was. No wind, no storm, nothing. I didn't hear nothing. And then, of course, Sarah walking the river with me, and she blatantly heard somebody, something, walking in the steep bank in the timber, paralleling us. I looked everywhere, didn't see nothing. And this is only like 50 yards away from us, and I didn't hear nothing. Go figure. How many children, people have emailed into about children seeing these people. Right there, Dad, it's right there. It's down there looking at us. Nobody sees anything. How many times? Right? Anyway. Keep them coming in. Keep those emails coming in. Soon I'll be caught up in the chaotic time of year, the fall. I'm barely able just to get these done without lining up people to come and talk on here with me. I think I may be able to attempt that in the next few days. This land clearing has really sewn up a lot of time. Now it's, I think Monday's a holiday, and I have to go get a hand seed spreader, or a couple of them, and get all the seed, because my old neighbor is on me. You gotta get it planted in the fall, otherwise it's not gonna work. You gotta get the seed, get a seed, and then I'll turn it over so the birds don't eat it. I'm like, okay. So I gotta get on that. And but I have somebody I think I might email here pretty quick who really wanted to come on here and share some knowledge with all of you, and I'll do that again. I'll email that person today and see if we can line that up and get one down anyway. A very important one, I feel. And we'll keep the ball rolling. All right? We'll keep the ball rolling. I think one thing for sure we can agree at this stage of the game is we can't control much, right? We can't control what's going on out there, but at least we can have knowledge and know what to do in various scenarios, right? At least we can have that knowledge and share that knowledge with people we care about so that they potentially do not have life-altering PTSD from having an unexpected encounter and not having a clue that this was fact, right? At least we can do that as well. And keep on digging for more answers. Anyway, there you go. I should probably be back tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to be back tomorrow, but I'm going to get up early myself, and I'm going to go, side note, yeah, I'm done reading emails. Side note, I'm going to go tomorrow by myself and hunt a particular monster bull elk, but I'm going to hunt him with a camera, alone. And for a side note, where this bull is, I feel pressure on one side of the valley every time I'm there, and coincidentally, right where I am looking for these elk is exactly where my native friend from the coast recorded with her phone that craft in the sky in the dark with the red lights, the orange lights, twice, and it was at 5 in the morning. And that is exactly where I feel pressure on one side of the valley when I'm there, and where I'm going to be looking for these elk. So I'll keep that in mind tomorrow morning when I'm out there, because I'm going to go out there real early in the dark. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up partway up the mountain. I'm going to get up there real early in the dark, so I'm there about an hour before seeing light. And now I'm going to know to look up and look around while I'm there, right? Wouldn't that be something a little alarming? If I seen the same thing that she's seen twice in the sky, just above the trees. Not that I'm looking for that to happen, but seems to be in the right area, right? Yeah. Anyway. Okay, enough babbling. But I'll definitely be doing video tomorrow out in the woods. and I'll probably be doing making a video share for all you from up there too, and I'll bring you guys there with me. All right, later.